Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. Tottenham's dream start under Thomas Frank continues with a Champions League win over Villarreal. James Maddison was spotted poking fun at Manchester United while supporting his teammates, and there's fresh news on Savinho as he edges closer to his return. Let's break it all down. Tottenham continued their impressive start to life under Thomas Frank on Tuesday night, winning 1-0 over Villarreal in the Champions League. Luis Jr.'s own goal in the 4th minute was the only difference between the two teams in a game that offered little attacking threat. Frank has now won 4 of his opening 5 games in charge of Spurs, after replacing Ange Postecoglou. The good start to the season comes despite several key players suffering injuries. James Maddison is expected to miss out until 2026 after suffering an anterior cruciate ligament injury during pre-season. Alongside Dejan Kulusevski and Radu Dragusin, Maddison often attends Spurs home games to support his teammates, and Tuesday night was no different. However, before the game against Villarreal, he was involved in EA Sports' first gameplay livestream event in London. Alongside members of the gaming community, such as Angry Ginge, Bezinga, and Nico Omilana, Maddison helped promote the upcoming version of the game and played alongside Adebayo Akinfenwa during the stream. He also participated in EA Sports' stream of further gameplay before interacting with a number of streamers at the event who had been invited to play the game early. Upon leaving the event to make his way to the Tottenham Hotspur stadium to watch the Spurs in action, the 28-year-old took the opportunity to poke fun at Manchester United. Spurs beat United in the Europa League final in May to seal a spot in this season's Champions League. Despite finishing 17th in the Premier League, the North Londoners are now competing with Europe's best and were able to spend big in the transfer window to bring in the likes of Xavi Simons. When saying goodbye to Angry Ginge, who supports United, Maddison said, "I've got to get to the game. I've got to get to the Champions League game." Ginge, real name Morgan Burt Whistle, replied, "Oh, Champions League." Maddison then took aim Tottenham's delight at United's expense, saying, "The competition we qualified for by beating you," before walking away in laughter. Savinho could be in contention for his first appearance since being linked with a transfer to Tottenham Hotspur. The Brazilian winger spent the final part of the summer window rumoured to be the subject of transfer talks between Spurs and Manchester City. Last season, which was his first working under Pep Guardiola, he scored 3 goals and provided 13 assists. However, an unspecified injury has kept Savinho from featuring this season, while ultimately he did not move anywhere before the September 1st deadline. But that first fact may be about to change, as the Spurs target is reportedly in contention for his first outing of the 2025/26 season in Sunday afternoon's Manchester derby against local rivals Manchester United. City actually took their final training session ahead of the grudge on the pitch of their Etihad Stadium. Savinho was involved as he posted pictures to his Instagram story to confirm on Saturday night. A first picture, as shown above, had the winger running with the ball. He captioned the image with a sky blue heart emoji paired with the eyes emoji. Another displayed himself juggling the ball with his left foot, with the caption reading S26, a reference to his name and shirt number, followed by a lightning bolt emoji. At the same time these two pictures were posted by Savinho, Spurs were wrapping up their emphatic win over London rivals West Ham at the London Stadium. A goalless first half was followed by a drastically livelier second period, kick-started by Pepe Sarr's 47th minute opener. Not long afterwards, Tomáš Souček was sent off for the hosts, and Thomas Frank's men immediately made good of their numerical advantage as Lucas Bergvall headed in a second. The second goal scorer, lastly turned provider as Mickey van der Ven, found the net again this season to conclude a positive 3-0 victory. Savinho's mind may have been fixated on other tasks instead of what life may have been like in this Spurs side. However, his transfer is a question that will need a definitive answer the next time the opportunity rolls around. Thomas Frank kicks off his Champions League journey with a gritty 1-0 win over Villarreal. From an early goalkeeper howler to to Spurs' rock-solid defence, here's every word the boss had to say after his first European triumph. Thomas Frank was happy to record his first Champions League victory with a 1-0 win against Villarreal on Tuesday night, and we've got every single word the Tottenham head coach said. The only goal of the game came just 4 minutes, with a woeful error from Villarreal goalkeeper Luis Jr. Lucas Bergvall hammered in a low cross and the keeper dived down but spilled it out of his hands, across his body and into the net. It was the most eventful moment of a tight game that featured only a single shot on target, from Pape Matar Sarr, and a couple of half-hearted Spurs penalty appeals rejected by the referee, and VAR in the first half, and then Mickey van der Ven and Xavi Simons both escaped potential red cards in the second period. Tottenham held on to their lead to kick off their Champions League return with a narrow victory and another clean sheet. Our Tottenham correspondent Alistair Gold was among those putting the questions to Frank after the game. Here's the full transcript from the Danes press conference at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. "Thank you. I thought it was a big win. In any competition it's good to get 3 points and get a good start. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the clean sheet. I'm happy with the defensive side of the game. I think we were extremely good and limited Villarreal to very little throughout the game. They were a good team I really admire. Obviously offensively we struggled on the day to create something against a good team. They also defended very well, which we knew in the 4-4-2 structure. They were very aggressive. When we were on the day, I think they needed the highest level in terms of touch, pass and decision making, and they nailed that. Then it was a very even game that we edged in the end. What I like is that our foundation is strong. Now we are 4 games won, 3 in the Premier League, 1 in the Champions League, and we have 4 sheets, which is massive. Obviously we are building the offensive structure more and more. Xavi Simons has just come into the club. It's fair to say he and Jed need a little relationship, of course, to get going. No complaints, it's just natural. I think there was a spell in the second half where we decided to give the ball away every single time we had it. We gave the ball away, let's bring it back. Oh, give it away, let's bring it back. Of course, it's a little bit easier to sit here with a smile, but of course, at that level we will raise, of course. Of course, just at the moment, it didn't look top. Sometimes I can clearly see penalties and yellow cards when it's going our way. This time, there was a little bit of need to hope, but when I've seen it back, clearly, outside our box, clearly he's a little bit in front. It's a free kick and a 0 call. Yeah, I think actually, we got some good runs from Lucas and Pape on the sides. When we were a little bit deeper, I think that worked okay. I think it was too few times that we got it high enough and got played a run and produced the crosses we wanted. That was probably the thing that didn't edge enough throughout the game. But there were actually quite a few situations where we got both to Kudus and to Xavi where we didn't produce what we should. Now I think there could be many reasons. I also think there were 3, 4, 5 times where he should have had the ball quicker to create something. But around the day, it was just unfortunate. Yeah, I agree with you, the Champions League is unbelievably tough. It was a very good team we faced today, and managed to get out of a very tight game as winners. With that feeling that you fight and run, and you do a lot of things as a group together, and then get out on top and win, it's exceptionally good. It just builds that extra foundation, extra layers. And sometimes when you can't hit the highest level, and still get away with a win, in an even game, I think it's fantastic. This team, these players, we will score goals. There's no doubt of that. I know we only scored an own goal today, but we will score goals. I'm not in doubt of that. I think the big thing was that we needed to defend better. So we worked very, very hard on structure, key principles, recovery runs, doing the tough job. That gives you a top opportunity to win games, and we've proven that so far. Yeah, maybe. I haven't looked into it. I think there was one on that transition you could maybe discuss. Just because it looks dangerous, it can't be a yellow all the time. But of course, I understand why you asked the question. So yeah, a new era is dawning at Tottenham Hotspur. From protests outside the stadium under Daniel Levy, to Europa League redemption under Ange Postecoglou, and now the bold appointment of Thomas Frank, the buzz around Spurs feels like a fresh start. With new faces in the boardroom, Champions League nights returning, and fans daring to dream big again, could this finally be the beginning of something truly special for Tottenham? The fans have every right to be optimistic, because there is also a buzz around the club at the moment which makes it feel like a fresh start. Just last season there were protests outside the ground, against former chairman Daniel Levy because supporters were fed up at the way the club was being run. Ultimately, Tottenham finished the season at the end of Ange Postecoglou's reign by winning the Europa League, and, despite their wretched Premier League form, it gave them a passport back onto European football's biggest stage. Tottenham have been bold as a club since then by bringing in Thomas Frank as manager, and it was the will of the fans who really drove an even bigger change. Levy was replaced amid a message that Tottenham want more success. We got our first glimpse of the club's new power brokers in the director's box at West Ham last Saturday. There was Viv Lewis, daughter of former owner Joe Lewis, and her son-in-law Nick Butcher were sat with technical director Johan Lange and chief executive Vinay Venkatesham. You can be sure the new hierarchy will relish their first big European night since taking over. Tottenham have been regulars in the Champions League in the past, and even reached the final in 2019. But a failure to build on the team which Mauricio Pochettino built was perhaps the biggest example of the lack of ambition and failings of Levy's reign. The biggest success, of course, is that £1 billion stadium. It deserves to host the biggest European nights. Villarreal will provide a little taste, and they have got big Champions League dates with Borussia Dortmund, and trips to the likes of Paris Saint-Germain and Monaco. Tottenham should reach the knockout stages, and you could sense the excitement as Frank was asked about his first Champions League campaign since taking charge at Spurs. "It's a fantastic opportunity and experience," said Frank. "We're playing in the Champions League in one of the best, maybe the best, stadiums in the world. Tottenham have made such a promising start, 3 wins and a defeat from 4 Premier League games under Frank, and the squad looks stronger. It has been strengthened in key areas, and it looks exciting. No wonder a lot of Spurs fans will feel the shackles are off, and they can dream big again. The hierarchy wants silverware. They have an ambitious manager. They have a chief executive who makes it his business to be in tune with the fans. This is a big moment for Tottenham, and they have to seize the opportunity. After years of frustration and false dawns, Tottenham fans are desperate for a new beginning. The return to the Champions League and a win over Villarreal might just signal the start of something very special."